Just had a wonderful sit down with Samir Jacob, marketing guru and all-round nice guy. And yes, he did announce his new position. He's going back to Clenergy. You heard it here first. Samir's passion for this industry is really palpable, and we discussed a lot of things concerning renewable energy, marketing in general, and his early childhood growing up. So without further ado, strap yourself in, sit back and enjoy this pretty interesting podcast. And don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you. Yeah, so we were talking off camera about culture, and I'd like to sort of, allow you to explain who you are, as in culturally, because the name Samir Jacob it's a hard one. So I don't know. Tell us.
Well, okay, so my parents are definitely a very weird mix from an Indian context. Jacob comes from the southern part of India, a place called Kerala. My dad he came from a family pretty much living in one state, but always had aspirations to move interstate and eventually overseas, which he did. And to do that, the steps are you venture out of your state, you go to the big capital city or the big commercial city, which is Bombay, which tends to bring a lot of people from all parts of the country together. In a parallel way, my mom is a lady who is origins are from the state of Gujarat, which is a northern state, and typically
bit colder than where your father's from.
Little bit, yes, definitely a little bit colder. Kerala is very, very tropical, and Gujarat is, you could say, is a little bit colder than where Kerala is. It's definitely way warmer in the south. And that Gujarati community over decades have ventured to places, all parts of the world, starting with, as we mentioned before, Kenya. You got them in Durban, South Africa. You have them in the States right now. If you look at most hotels or most motels, they're all owned by this one community. And they all pretty much have the same last name, which is Patel.
Oh, Patel is a fairly common name, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very popular name in that community, and it's a perfect business for them, right? We just think about your family. You could own a motel. The family could live here. You could all work here, and you have a stable income. So right now today, if you go to the United States, that whole community owns pretty much most of the motel industry across the country.
Was that like a natural progression when obviously the first Patels moved over there and they go, okay, we buy up on these hotel motels, and suddenly they're used as an example, come over, and the same, and that's what happened. Is that how it works? It's
pretty hard to get a job, but it's easy to buy a business, right?
Wow.
So what are the businesses I can buy that's within my range? Okay, I can buy a convenience store, I can buy a servo, I can buy maybe a small motel to start off with, and I can employ my family.
Yeah, right.
So that's how they all saw that. That's why, that's where the origins kind of come from, where you've got the 7-Elevens and the Apus and all of that, right? But at the end of the day, whenever, if anybody says anything to me or I hear anything about, let's say, racist against Apu or anything like that, at the end of the day, I don't care. The stereotype of my country of origin has a job. Has his own business. So
that's a good stereotype.
You say whatever you want.
That's a great stereotype.
Yeah, that's an amazing stereotype to have. So I'm definitely proud of that stereotype, with my mom's family, and remember this is during her family during colonial times, through the British they moved to the Middle East, just slightly north of Africa, country of Yemen. And they were British overseas citizens. So my mom's actually a British citizen, right? Living in Yemen because now it's British controlled. Then a couple years later, there was an uprising of the local indigenous, and a lot of the British were asked to leave. And literally all the people the British brought over had to either leave to England or they had a choice to move back to India. Now, my mother just chose to move back to India, and during which time my granddad, when he moved over, his business was basically he was a bottle shop owner, right? He had his own bottle shop and really servicing all of the Western people in Yemen, in the city of Aden, and he was also at the time a very high up Freemason.
Wow.
Yeah.
Part of one of the secret societies, eh?
Yeah. So when and he had my mom is one of 7, right? And when they moved back to India, they literally moved back almost like refugees, right? They had to literally, when the uprising happened, they had to leave everything, all their business, the homes, all their assets, and try to get as much out. But think about it, if you're a gentleman, you got 7 kids, where are they going to school? How are you sorting the, finances out? But, my mother never talks about it, and she doesn't know much about it. But the day they landed in Bombay, they were all shipped to boarding school, all fees paid for, everything looked after. 7 kids.
But by...
We don't know.
Were you joking?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
That's a story in itself. Samir.
Yeah.
The gods were smiling. Definitely.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
amazing.
it's the network, it's the connections, it's the people. Because I think my granddad would have rubbed shoulders with a lot of elite individuals, while passing bottles of scotch and being at some gala dinners and things like that, and meeting the right people. And obviously, in that fraternity, they look after their own. So if anybody's going through anything, and there's lodges everywhere around the world. So once he must have moved back to the Bombay lodge. Actually, he was part of the Scottish lodge.
They're the real.
Yeah.
They're one of the first Masons, apart from obviously the Egyptian stoneworkers who were the first Masons. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he had this we used to call it a trunk box, which is a big metal suitcase with all of his regalia, his the jackets, the medals, and everything. And we don't know what his actual title was.
It's very secret
very
stuff.
Secret. He never talked about his wife, his kids, nothing. Right?
Wow.
But they all were sorted. They were all asked who wants to go to uni. 2 out of the 7 put their hand up, and they were all looked after. One went to medical school, who's in the States, a PhD researcher. Second was my mother. She studied psychology. So my mom's there now in Bombay. My dad's there in Bombay. They happen to work in the same office. And sometimes they talk about whether leaders were born or were you made.
Oh,
right?
This is one of the things I was going to ask, actually.
Yeah. And
nature versus nurture.
And I'm thinking, yes, I was definitely born into this situation, but I was definitely made into the person I am by those individuals and the lineage behind that. People like my mom's father and my dad, because my dad was director general manager for a company that owned about 17 companies underneath it, based out of Oman. So now, if in the 70s and 80s, the Middle East was literally growing, and so they would hire expats from all around the world to help develop their country, right? So my
They had
dad,
a lot of petrodollars to spend, didn't they?
100%, right? And to bring them up to speed somewhere closer to the West, right? So, for example, there were family friends and uncles who are these really high up Navy captains. Oh, I forget what his title is, and I'm going to upset a few people, but I know he was very high up Navy in the Navy for Sri Lanka. But he's over in Oman training up the Omani Navy. There's another uncle from the army in India training up the Omani army. And my dad's business, they had a civil engineering division, they had a textile division, a division for interior design and furniture. And so they would kit out a lot of the royal family and their homes to be up to like Western standards. So that is working with interior designs from Europe to everything from the chandeliers to the chairs and the everything, right? And in our house, every event, every party, there's people from Germany, from Thailand, from India, Sri Lanka, people from everywhere. So that's the kind of world that I grew up in. Right? And from an Indian context, provided that my father speaks one language, my mom speaks another language, the common thing is that they both went to British boarding schools. So they both speak English. And so in the house, it's only English.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Not Hindi or not?
No.
Wow.
Not at all. It's only English. And only if we went to their individual home states, that's when, cousins or other uncles will start talking to me in those languages. So if you ask me to speak in the languages, I am horrible. Wow. But and I felt such a disadvantage. But I can understand almost everything. It's just very hard for me to respond. But I can understand Malayalam, Tamil, Hindi, Gujarati. So that's about 4 Indian languages. But I can't respond back to you. So if people are talking, I know what you're talking about, right?
You got it.
But and I'll respond to you back in English.
So you had a real global perspective of the world very early on as a child. You're seeing all these people from all over the place.
Yeah.
And is that where you would have developed this, I suppose, a sense that we are, at an in our essence the same. There's no divisiveness between people. Well, there is because of the world we live in. Is that something that would?
Well, the friends I grew up with, typically, let's just say on a baseline, everyone's from a different home, everyone's from a different nationality, a lot of people from different religions, right? And so you have friends who are Hindu, and they have certain stipulations on what they. Because as friends, all you care about is what you're eating and drinking, what you're playing with, right?
Of course.
And so, if you have Muslim friends, there's certain stipulations on what they can and cannot do. If your friends are Jain, which Jain is another sect within India, or Sikhs, and so on and so forth, right? But my dad, because his family is Protestant, which are, or actually another name they have is they're called Syrian Christians.
Oh,
so
okay.
you have the Apostle Thomas, Saint Thomas, who came to Kerala.
That's more Orthodox, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Like the Coptic Church.
Yes, the Syrian Christians. Yes, so. At my house, you can do whatever you want. You can drink what you want. You can eat what you want. So all my mates who are not allowed certain things in their homes would come to my place.
Oh, and they went crazy.
Yeah. So it was the house, and so by definition, it was always my house where I would bring people together. So. I was always the organizer, always the person organizing trips or things at my house. Typically at the home as a young kid is, until you're 18, you're always at home with your parents. And my parents always had the rule of, you can do whatever you want as long as it's in this house. So you bring your friends over, we don't care. If you, however long you want to have them here, we don't care. As long as respect the rules. So, I was, when we talk about, let's say, my dad and mom would have bought, like, say, certain furniture for the palace, there would definitely be a little bit extra stuff that they would keep for themselves.
Of course.
Right? So whenever my friends would come over, I'm also very particular about all these things. So I would actually take all the little statues, the vases, everything.
Yeah.
I would take them and I would store them in the guest room.
That's funny.
Right? So the house kind of looked bare when friends would come over. And they're like, wasn't there a vase there? Like, yeah, I took that away because I know who you are.
Well, that was being practical.
And I have to look after my self-interest, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
So it's always been growing up in a space where you are catering to different people's needs depending on their individual backgrounds. And so I've always had that. So, growing up as a kid, going up into uni and so on and so forth, that's followed me everywhere.
Did you have any mentors, like growing up, any people that you go, oh, look, that person in year 11, the teacher was, instrumental in how I think about things? Anyone like that, or within the family?
So I'll give you 2. So in between, while my family was living in the country of Oman, they wanted me to also have a similar kind of upbringing as themselves. They both went to British boarding school. So they said, right, okay, we're going to try this out. Why don't you try a school in India? So they shipped me off to a city called Pune, which is just south of Bombay, to the Bishop's all-boys boarding school for about 2 years, 2-3 years, right? So that was like, I think it was year 3 to year 5, right? In that school, one of the English lit teachers, I don't remember his name. I think it was Mr. Gomez. I think so. But anyway, there was an exercise that he provided, and he said it was letter writing, right? And he's like, and see, this is a classroom full of boys. So he's like, what boys? What are the things that you like? And most boys, it's chocolates and cars, right? So they're like, okay, what kind of chocolates do you like? Tell me the names. And so like, oh, there's Nestle, there's Cadbury's. What kind of cars do you like? Oh, the Mercedes, BMW, and all those names come out. He starts writing all the names on the board. And then what he does is, I don't know how, he found out the addresses, the postal addresses of all those companies and their head offices in wherever they were, right? So in Germany or the UK, wherever it may be. And he said, you're going to write a letter to, and just say, to whoever may concern, and talk to them about why you like their product. And it's like a fan mail. You're writing a letter just to let them know how much you like their product, what you like about it. And let's just send it off and see what happens, right? 2 months later, we're talking about snail mail days. We're talking about late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, there's no email,
It was air mail, right? Stamps and everything. So 2 months later, a lot of the boys, we all got these A4 size packages. And all A4 yellow covers, open it up, and Mercedes, BMW, Cadbury's, they're all sending their company brochures and a little letter, thank you for your mail. Thought we'll just share with you a little bit about the company. And it was just like a nice gesture to a young, year 3, year 4 kid, just saying, here's a bit about us. And thank you for your notes, and we'll definitely take them on board and something of that sort. But that was the first brochure I saw in my life, like a proper brochure.
Wow.
And I think to myself now, like, man, maybe that's the reason I'm in marketing, So that was definitely the first one.
And what was the package you received?
I got one. I was being cheeky too. I sent 2 letters. So I sent one. I sent one to Cadbury's and I sent one to Mercedes.
Very good.
Yeah. So I don't know where that is now. I mean, it was so many years ago, but it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. Just the colors, the graphs, and it could have had all their. I think it was similar. Well, what today we would have like your shareholder booklet that they would pass to all their shareholders, right? Which just has the graphs of the year, how the company is doing,
yes,
and a bit of about the company, right? Which it's open to public anyways. It's all public companies. So someone in the marketing team must have received all these letters, and said,
sure.
And they're like, "Who are these 30 boys from this random school in India that wants to know about us?" But it sparked something where. Today, where I've been working in marketing for almost close to 20 years now, and
so you think there was definitely, sounds like it was the trigger. I mean, from that point on, did you sort of know what you wanted to do? Because I talked to a lot of people, and so do you. Some people still don't know what they want to do when they're my age, 60 plus.
Yeah.
Other people know when they're 15.
Yeah.
So what about?
I would say, like, over the years, certain aspects have crafted my life. Like, so with for example, the second teacher I wanted to mention, which was her name is Cynthia Mascarenas. Ma'am Cynthia Mascarenas. I recently had a 25-year reunion with a lot of my high school mates, and we organized phone calls with her, and she's now living in Canada. But anyway, so at the school, they were every year they had high school productions and things like that, and it was very they wanted everyone to get involved. So every child had a role to play, and even though some years I was either an actor, but I really liked being off stage and being part of the production team, being part of ticketing or like getting things organized, with the orchestra floor or
the process and the procedures. Yeah.
We had boys who looked after the lights, someone who looked after all the staging equipment. So that all of those elements are also part of marketing. In terms of like you're putting on a show, you're telling a story, you're organizing an event, right? and that is, I mean, marketing has so many aspects to it, right? You've got the branding piece, you've got the events piece. Today, you've got the digital and social pieces. But at the end of the day, you're a storyteller.
It's all about the narrative, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So, to answer your question about how did I really get into this, it's taking all those elements, and also I love films. I love my movies and cinema and everything that goes around with that. So everything that what I'm seeing here today with all of your setup,
Yes.
I'm typically the EP at the back, orchestrating everything.
Gotcha.
Right. And so taking all those little bit of elements, being an events organizer or understanding curating colors and fonts and what do you want those fonts to state. Recently, I received a document from a particular company, and the moment I saw it, I didn't even have to read it.
Yeah.
The moment I saw it, it had Times New Roman, right? So I know now automatically, okay, so that means you're using a ridiculously old version of Microsoft. Tells me how dated your brand is. And it automatically sets the tone that you haven't progressed, right? Now, said company have made a lot of changes, yes, but that's your first impression.
Come on, who are they? No, I'm joking.
No, but it's, all I'm saying is if you push this to put this narrative out that you want to be progressive, it's the small details, and you got to make sure that you're trying to cover every aspect so that someone who reads your copy tomorrow, someone sees a picture, someone sees a video, it all has the same look and feel of what your vision is.
It looks
right?
effortless,
Yeah.
but for the people who make it, it's really hard to make it look effortless.
Yeah.
The fonts is a funny one, isn't it? They really go out of fashion very quickly.
Yeah.
What do you think? What part of the human brain do you think is responsible for going? Yeah, that font looks. There's something off. I didn't even know it was, Arial or whatever it was, but I know it just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
What creates that?
I don't know. I'm probably not the right person to answer that. But in terms of we've been conditioned, right? For years, we've all grown up on Microsoft Windows, right? Like, for example, one of my previous companies, their origin story is from Australia, right? But a lot of the design staff have Microsoft Windows. By that default, everything's in American English. So all the copies coming in, all the copy like specializes is with the Z and with the Z and not an
They should
S.
change the setting though, shouldn't
Right?
they?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is someone in IT has not done that step.
Right.
Right? And so when you create the copy and you get the brochure and someone in Melbourne starts to read, like, oh yeah, everything looks good, but why is there a Z there? It's weird. Or why do you spell color without the U? What's going on? You know what I mean? So it's just that we've all been conditioned in a way to, this is my conspiracy theory of the Americans trying to take over the world. I
want to hear it. Tell us.
No, from a design world, like the Americans started wanting to take over the world through their IT products, right? And we all use Microsoft. American English is the default, and I'm like, no, it's UK. It's UK English, or if now today they've got Australian English.
I agree with you. The only word that I think that is acceptable American style is program, as opposed to double ME. And I think recently what we're sort of about to get used to, but it's a dead giveaway that AI has written the text, the M dash, which
100%.
if there's an M dash, hey, you haven't even bothered to actually edit this AI driven.
Just take
text.
the next step, backspace, comma. Done.
That's exactly right. It's funny. Like obviously with these fonts and these things, it's all about that those relationships. It's the geometry, the shape, colors. Obviously incredibly important in marketing. Do you have any sort of views on colors and the relationship between different colors? Well, I know it's a nitty gritty question, right? But it's really important in marketing.
So if I look at this eye industry, right? So you got when you do the color wheel of, let's say, your primary colors, you've got red, blue, green, yellow, orange are some of the primary ones. And if you were to take every logo from our industry and put this on this like circular kind of map,
Yeah.
where you've got blue, red, yellow, green, you could see almost 90% of brands, or even 99% of brands gravitate towards blue, red, or green, because they're like, hey, red, that's going to catch everyone's eyes, so I'm going to go red. Oh, we're in the renewable industry, hence equal to green. We're going to green. Hey, we're in the solar industry, it equals to yellow. I'm going to go yellow.
Yes.
Right, or orange. I'll go somewhere in between.
Yes,
right.
yes.
This is the default setting. Right. Whereas. And then, if you're a brand today after 20 years, because we've had so many companies come and go, and now you want to stand out. Now, what colors are you left with, right? You've got purple, pink,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, how brave are you that you're going to pick one of these colors,
Not
right?
that brave.
Right. Well, there are some companies who have, right?
Well, and successfully pulled it off.
Yeah, like for example, if you look at, they're not around anymore. They've been acquired. But so Solar Analytics, they were purple and yellow.
Yeah, good point.
Right? They stood out, which is great, And then
Yeah.
of course they got acquired by Catch Power now. But as a brand, it definitely stood out in the market.
I actually like the Sunlight branding.
Yeah.
We obviously use their product and Clenergy's and a few others as well. But I do like that red. I'll get this right. Yellow and black.
Yeah.
Which is usually a warning sign because it's for bees. But it works really, really well.
Yeah.
What's your views on logos? Because to
Yeah.
me, that's probably as important, if not more, getting the right logo.
So I've been through this process a fair few times
bet you
with a few companies. And the one thing I want to tell leadership teams, and thank you for giving me this platform to say this to them, but which is if you sit down for a workshop with an external agency who knows nothing about your industry, they don't need to know. They just need to know just enough, right? Go through their process, and whatever they provide in front of you is going to be really, really good, because that's what they do. They design. I mean, obviously, you're going to go through your due diligence, trying to find the best agency within. You're going to get recommendations. You're going to get reviews. You're not going to just pick someone off the street, right? So let's say you've done all that. You've done all your due diligence to find the right company, the right fit. The thing is, we have to understand. You and I, we are in this bubble of this industry. We walk through All Energy. We walk through the Smargy conference. We see the same logos, the same colors constantly, right? And so the default setting is to go back to something that we know, right?
Yep.
But if you want to be a new brand and you want to stand out and you want to really get out there, then an agency will actually help you and actually provide you options to literally stand out. But what I've always seen, at least in a few of my past companies, where the leadership team they'll see that and then they'll say, "Oh, but I do like the red, the blue, and the green. Can we gravitate back towards that?" Because they're not. Because also, if you see traditionally, most of the manufacturers, it's a B2B world, right? It's not only today you're starting to see a few B2C companies come in, right? Who have so the core foundation for majority of the companies in the our manufacturing world, they're all B2B players. Only today you see a few, let's say, some of the companies who traditionally did battery banks, but today they're doing residential batteries, right? But they started battery banks. Battery banks is a purely B2C space. That's their core foundation. Those brands, you see that they're the ones who are a little bit more agile. They're a little bit more open and brave to try different colors, because they've had to be like that.
Can you just explain? I mean, I know what you're talking about, and a lot of the listeners and viewers will. But can you explain the difference between B2B and B2C? What it actually means?
Well, so business to business. We're talking in our world, it's manufacturing to maybe distributions or direct to retailers before it comes to an actual tradie or installer that finally arrives to the consumer. So there's a bunch of businesses by the time it actually reaches the consumer. Whereas B2C, which is business directly to consumer, where it's something, let's say a confectionery item, but let's say a piece of chocolate. It goes straight to
you like your chocolate.
Right, I am Yeah, I don't know if you noticed. I only had the vanilla slice.
I was gonna.
I got a really strong sweet tooth, and that is also that's something where if you ever went to where my mom's from in Gujarat, this whole state, I don't know what it is, but they love putting sugar in everything.
Wow.
They put sugar in their lentils.
Oh boy. Not in dal. Not in.
They put sugar
Really?
in dal. Yes. But that's them, and and they do love their sweets.
Wow.
Yeah. Whereas Kerala's the total opposite. They love putting coconut oil in freaking everything.
Yeah,
right. Have you ever had fried eggs with coconut oil?
Never.
My God.
No. No.
I don't know. I just couldn't do it. But everything else, like with the beef curries, is grand, but not my fried eggs. But anyway.
So we got B2B, we got B2C.
See? And then today, of course, you've got D2C, right? Because B2C
What's that? I don't know what that is.
So B2C is obviously the business, and you still have the retail arm in the middle,
Right.
before you go to the consumer. So you've got the things that go to Coles and Woolies, and then they sell it to the consumer.
Right.
D2C is direct from the manufacturer to the consumer. So they're buying it straight off your website,
Okay.
right?
They're cutting out the middleman.
Yeah,
as
the
such.
retailers. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, like today, if you look at, let's say, all these shows like I guess what's it, Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, a lot of those companies would first design their product, put their product on something like a Kickstarter, where they would get validation for the product, so customers have already paid for the product even before production, and once it's produced, it goes directly from the manufacturer to the consumer without touching any other middleman's hands. And a lot of brands prefer that model. So when you look at your Facebook and you're looking at new soaps or T-shirts, or it's all directly from, some of them are directly from the manufacturer.
So how does the marketing intrinsically change, if indeed it does, between, say, the approach of an industry of B2B as opposed to B2C? Is there any intrinsic differences there, or is it much of a muchness?
Well, say in the B2B world, it's all about long-term relationships, right? I mean, a customer could be yours with you for 20, 30 years. So to get that customer on board, you have to provide, stability with your brand, bankability with your business, and financially you're strong. You got to show that I'll support you in your sales and your sales and marketing team, whether it's your distribution channel, whether it's your retailers. There's a lot that you have to show before someone signs, right? And so, whereas B2C, you can make a nice wrapper. You could design a beautiful wrapper. You can design a nice little TVC, and you can sell, right? You make a nice commercial, one little testimony. I mean, today with one TikTok, you could sell out, and make a drop, right? Which is, you could release a limited release of these sunnies. I'm making 200 of these. One video, drop it, sold, right? And the consumer will buy it. It's a impulse buy. I'm buying it right now. Whereas B2B don't do impulse buys.
No, it's more tangible, and as you said, long lasting. It's almost like the subscription model, isn't it? You want these people to come back to you. You want them to. You want to maintain a relationship. So really, it all comes down to an understanding of people as well. Which is that something, because you did live in this multicultural kind of household where you had people from all over the place. Is that something that you were really aware of from the word go? That, and I touched on it before. Is that something?
Well, I don't know if I'm aware of it. That's who I am. It's just how I grew up, and that's the kind of values that my parents instilled in me, and that's how they carry themselves in their own circles. Even till today, every time they go out, it's always people from all over the place, and I'm traveling here, I'm going over there, and I mean, there might be a lot of families like mine, but my dad he has an Indian passport, but has had a UAE or an Omani residency for decades. My mom has had her British passport. My brother has an Irish passport, and I have an Australian passport. All of us,
gotcha.
So all of us can't travel. Like there's someone's got a okay, but most of us can.
Wow.
But who needs a visa? Do you need a visa? Do I need a visa?
Let's get back to your education. You've finished high school, and still at the boarding school by the sound of it.
Yep.
And then on to university.
Yeah.
What did you study at uni? Did you study marketing or what?
Yeah. So. So just after boarding school, I actually finished that about year 6, and then I moved for high school.
Okay.
I moved for high school to another city called Chennai, because my dad had family there, and my mom and brother were there, and thought we'll have one base of roots. So so I moved to Chennai, went to a high school over there for year 7 to year 12, and then. Went over to uni, which was Loyola College. There's there's actually a Loyola College in the southeast suburbs.
I've heard of Loyola. Is that right?
Loyola, correct?
Yeah.
And it's a very popular. I mean, Saint Ignatius de Loyola is also not one of the saints. I'm not sure, but he's a man of the order, Jesuit priest.
Hang on a sec. Let's stop here for a second. Your father's Protestant, effectively a Syrian Christian.
Yes.
But you're talking now about hardcore Jesuit Catholic school.
Yes.
Okay, you can explain this.
Yeah. And I mean, even though my mum is she's Hindu, but she also went to a all British boarding school, so she had all nuns and Mother Superior running the joint.
Right.
Yeah. And so the college I went to was Loyola College for my undergrad. And that set of Jesuits priests, they've actually opened unis all around the world.
Wow.
And small little schools as well, which is a weird story, because once I met my wife here in Melbourne, I asked her which college she went to, and she said the exact same name, Loyola College.
Wow.
I'm like, where is that? Oh, Lima, Peru.
Oh my God. It's meant to be. Boy, oh boy.
Right. So anyway, Loyola College, I actually studied business administration, and heavy on the marketing subjects, PR, and I don't know why, but they had a lot of accountancy programs. Now, one thing is this is one of the stereotypes that they have about Indian people. They're very, very good at math and numbers.
But you're not.
Right. I remember one of my finance classes. So after Loyola College, I went and I studied. I lived in a few places, but I did a course in finance, and it was in Perth. Literally, all the boys from Gujarat, this particular state, they were in the front row.
Yeah, right.
And I'm in the back row, right? And all the Australians and the people from Germany, they're like, why aren't you close to other Indians? Like I don't know. I'm just trying to pass this class, right? Give me the marketing class. Let's go into organizational behavior. Let's go into PR or communications. I just need to pass this class so I get my degree at the end of this. But so it was Loyola College, Chennai, and 3 years in that undergraduate program. And while I was there, I joined. So when you go into O-Day, there's all the different fraternities and the groups. You've got like the guys who are part of the Rotary Club or the Lions Club or
the rock climbing club. Yeah.
So one of them was this group called ISEC, and what they provided was global internship programs, and they did that, and it was completely all student run. So they had a team that would go into local companies, not-for-profits, and try to raise and secure internships. And they had another team that would go out into the university and find students who wanted to go overseas and go on internships. And ISEC had maybe like 20 offices all across India, and they're originally from France, so they have got offices almost in every single university across all of Europe, the States, all across the world, literally. And so in those 3 years at uni, even though they had the two teams there, as they got to know my background while doing the interview process, they said, yep, you're going to be our events manager. So
Yeah,
So,
right, yes.
so for 3 years, all the like mini conferences, all of the local events and training workshops, etc. I would organize all the logistics, get all the AV equipment, have the right deals with catering, all of that, get everything organized.
So what do you like about it? Do you like the control aspect of it, or the process? Things are in this place. What's the appeal?
I think it's all of those.
Yeah, right.
It's all of those in terms of, for me, it's all about creating that perfect experience in terms of, so remember when I told you that in high school, I worked in the theater side of things, right? So some of the things, the three elements in theater, at least that I took forward, was he who hesitates is lost, which is in today's world, people say shoot their shot, right? Most young people say that. But basically, you have a window, take it, right? It's like, you're off stage, you got to cue in. That's the second you got to jump in and say your line,
it's
right?
All about timing.
Yeah, it's all about timing.
Yeah,
So, and if you lose that moment, it's done, right? The others on stage also lose their moment.
But that's scary, isn't it?
It is very scary, which kind of leads me into the second one, which is so you got he who hesitates is lost, and then I'm not trying to offend anyone, but this is what the metaphor is, right?
Come on.
Not until the fat lady sings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people who know their history, this is all coming from, the European time of operas.
Yes.
Where sometimes
the Wagnerian operas, the large, statuesque women belting it out.
Yeah, and only women of that stature, because sometimes those operas would go for multiple hours.
Wow.
Right? And then you'd have the last one come on stage and belt that last one out, and only someone of that stature could do it for that long. So, and this is something that people will actually talk about in the audience, like, oh, we can't leave until the fat lady sings.
Right? I didn't know that. That's the derivation of that. Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, and people in the sporting world have used that forever. It's not over until it's over.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like it's all coming from there.
That's right.
So for me, it's, get in and take that moment. It is, the event is not over until it's 100% over. And so don't celebrate until, everything's 100% done, which is like from let's say from an events perspective, you've got the start, you've got your entrees and mains coming in, you've got your speeches, you've got the audio and the HVAC's all working, so everyone's comfortable. They've got wait staff with their beverages coming in. All things are happening simultaneously. People are now, the event's finished, they're about to leave. And let's say there are a set of stairs that go to your vehicle, someone trips and falls, right? So it's also thinking about, okay, OH&S, reduce my risk. What do I do?
Wow.
Making sure that everything is safe, because I don't want the next day someone to say, oh, it's a great event, but I fell and broke my knee.
It's a really good point. I mean?
So
it's a really good point.
Just make every single detail, like you're trying to reduce your risk in terms of making sure the event goes off well. You're covering every single base to ensure that everyone has a great experience.
Are you a perfectionist?
I try to be. I try. And I try to go to a certain level, and then beyond that, I've done everything I can. And maybe now it's okay. That's it.
Because there is a point, isn't
there
it?
Has to be a point.
Marginal diminishing returns.
Yeah.
But it's I think you've touched on something really incredibly important. People always remember the last thing. My father's a builder and renovations, and sometimes domestic, and sometimes at the end the owners would go, oh no, I'll sweep up. Okay. But my father always said no, because what'll happen if you say yes, they'll say to their friends, he did a great job, this, that and the other, but at the end I had to sweep up after him because it's the last thing they remember.
Yeah.
So it all definitely plays a role.
Yeah.
Being in marketing and being like, a perfectionist or someone who wants attention to detail, that's incredibly important.
100%.
Because as you said, if it's a font set, you could have a beautiful color screen, a great message, good the whole narrative, the whole build up. the font's out, the proportions are wrong, the font's too big, colours are wrong shape, and people go, there's something wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm talking from a visual perspective.
And I mean, see, today we're living in a world where everything is HD. Your video, your audio. The reason we're using these mics so that the experience that the final consumer has on their phone or on their earphones, where they can hear every single pin drop, whether the aircon is on or off, they can hear it, right?
Yes, true.
And all that matters because that's all part of their spatial experience.
They're visually and audibly educated more so than they were.
And so it's more work today for marketers as opposed to 10, 15, 20 years ago, where I could just get a quote off the CEO with the recorder. Remember with the recorder, and that's recording all the spatial sound, and it's just very muffly, but it was still good enough for back then.
Absolutely.
And you pass that off as a cassette to those little mini cassettes off to the
That's
the
a really good
journal.
point. I mean, how far can it go though? Like like how visually and educated will we get? How high will our expectations get? Do they keep on going or what?
I mean, as they make cameras better, mics better.
But we know even at this point, you've got a camera that's got an amazing amount of megapixels. The only time you see the difference between it and another camera is when you start blowing up the images. Because there's a certain point where you go, hey, that's too much.
That's too much.
All right, so you're at uni.
Yep.
You've completed your course.
Yep.
First job. First cab off the rank.
Right. So I actually with that university program with the international internships, I got a job over in the Czech Republic, working for a sheet metal manufacturer that designed vending machines. And I was just doing market research for them, doing sales to Western Europe, so mainly Ireland, the UK, all the English-speaking countries and or English-speaking clients. And they were actually designing vending machines for like Pepsi, Coca-Cola, all the various beverages and I guess confectionery items. They also back then they also did cigarettes, right? So the type of machines. So for me, back then, I did because the norm with all your uni mates was, I want to go to Australia, I want to go to the US, Canada, all the kind
top
of like
three,
the top three, right?
Yeah.
The UK, etc. And I was always adamant that I do not want to go anywhere that everybody else wants to go. I want to go somewhere where nobody wants to go.
Czechoslovakia.
No, I mean, when I say nobody, I'm saying nobody from that part of that bubble of the world who doesn't. And when people don't know anything about those countries, they're like, oh, shouldn't go there.
For our Czech listeners, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah. You know I love you guys, I had the most fabulous time there. I had so much learning. And remember, this is a country that just got the independence in 93.
Yeah.
So this was 2004, only 10 years later.
Wow.
So we're talking about people who've just used their passports for the last 10, 11, 12 years, right? Or been able to. And they had the separation of the country into Slovak Republic and the Czech Republic. So Slovakia and the Czech Republic. And one thing you love about Europe, you could live in one little town. You could, and then the big city is literally an hour away on a train.
Yeah, wow.
Another city is another 45 minutes away. So everything's very close by. So
we were in Prague?
Just outside a place called Pardubice. And I used to work in a place called Hradec Králové, which is another hour away north of Pardubice. And so weekends you're in Prague or Brno or Ostrava and all those other.
See, I can hear you can pronounce it pretty well.
I mean, if you but once you live there for a year and a half,
So you picked up a bit of lingo, obviously.
Yeah.
You speak to a degree, you reckon, or
well,
enough?
Back then, remember, like your mobile phones, you had for internet it was GPRS, right? There was nothing else. I had a Czech and English dictionary back in my back pocket. English to Czech, Czech to English. Because the first thing you gotta know is what is rice, what is chicken, what is onions, right? Like how do I buy?
Where's the toilet?
One of the first things I learned when I was at the office there was Je mi líto, nevím česky. Zavolejte zítra ráno, which is, I'm sorry, I don't speak Czech. Please call back in the morning. because invariably I'd be the last one in the office and the phone rings and I'm like, what do I say? Like, I'll just belt this one out and then bang.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You should have recorded on a little. We have a little recorder. Just press the play button. Wow.
Yeah. So, and then, you know, when you travel as an international intern, you're also surrounded by other international interns.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
my friends were all from Nigeria or from Mexico and, different parts of South America. And it's just, or Turkey and, oh, wow, just, you know, so, and one thing with the international students there, so you know in Europe with all the universities, they have the Erasmus program. So most universities have this program where you are allowed to do one of your last semesters in any other university. If let's say you went to university in Rome, you could do a semester, your last semester, in Sweden or in Finland, wherever you want, right?
I didn't know that.
If you are part of that program, the Erasmus program, which is only within the EU, right? So the block of flats where I lived just happened to have all these Erasmus students, all these global intern students. So you had people from everywhere in this block of flats, right? So again, just it was just an amazing experience that I actually did it for a second time, and I went over to Sweden. I lived in a city called Gothenburg or Göteborg, and I worked in this company called SCA Personal Care, which today you see their products the parent company is in Sweden, but if you know so SCA stands, it's basically Swedish paper company in English, or in Swedish it's Svenska Cellulosa Artebolaget, right? And that basically means Swedish paper company. So if you know the brands like Handy, Sorbent,
Yes.
Tena, Libra, these are all of their, so they had a baby division, they had adults, they had away from home, which is like Tork, T-O-R-K, which is all the tissue for the restrooms. Got to work in that office, and now we're talking a multinational business. So I went from a little sheet metal manufacturer, local Czech company, to a multinational business with multiple product lines, working under the head of brand, right? And I was literally like just his intern for a year and got to learn from him. And amazing individual, Bengt Eriksson. It's amazing how some of these people shape your life, who take you on their wing and, hey, you know what, we just want to teach someone and then off you go and, go off into the world, right? And one thing I realized and why I came to Australia was because, so in Sweden, it is, and most parts of Europe, when you go to uni, you actually go for 5 years.
Wow.
Right? You go for your undergrad 3 years and 2 years of master's. And it's a 5-year program, right? Now, that's the norm in some parts of Europe. Not the norm in some parts of the rest of the world, because let's say in India, you do your undergrad and that could be it. You can just, and then start working. And if you so chose to, you can do a postgrad and do a master's later. But it's a choice to you. Whereas in Sweden, it's mandatory. Like you go for 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Right? So when I was in that office, everyone's like this PhD or master student, everybody, right?
Yeah, right.
And so the way they carried themselves in meetings, the way they presented, the way they spoke, the way they held a workshop, I was so I wouldn't say immature, but I felt so deficient in the way of what I was bringing to the table, right? And I said, okay, as a foundation, that's one thing I don't have. Everyone here is of a completely different caliber set. At least if I get the foundation right, then I could aspire to be at their level, right? And so after I finished that internship about a year and a half, I've always wanted to come to Australia. So in '93, I'd come to Sydney on a family vacation from India. We went to Sydney, went to Canberra, went to the Sydney Zoo and everything. Had a great time, and have a few rallies here. The same rallies, actually, like they're very strong family friends from Oman. So when we left Oman to come to India, they came over to Australia, right? And so that was back in '93 and on the holiday. And now cut to 2007 or 2006. I ring them up and I say, hey, I'm looking to do uni in Australia. Where do I go in Sydney? And they're like, we've actually moved. I'm like, where have you moved? We're in this place called WA Perth.
Wow.
We're like, whoa, where? I'm trying to look up on the map. Where is this place? Wait, this desert, and one little dot, right?
That's exactly what
Right?
it was. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Wow.
I'm like, okay, I'm sure you got some good unis there. And they're like, yeah, the best one is University of West Australia. So they've got a great master's and business and MBA program, and they've got subjects in marketing and stuff. So I'm like, you know what, done. Did the little essay, put the resume, sent off the email. Within a week, got the admission done.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Yeah. Because also that program, the stipulation was with most programs at most unis, as soon as you finish your undergrad, you can jump into a master program. Whereas the MBA, you had to have had by that time 5 to 7 years of work experience before you could even try to jump in the program. And I just got in. Just got in. Which was again such a great experience because every one of my classmates, everyone was working, everyone was doing it part-time. I was the only one doing it full-time. And everyone was working over at Rio, CBH, West Farmers. These are all, like everyone's is in these big colossal companies, right? And so you had people with their own businesses, people working in these massive corporates. And every subject you do, you have to do a group assignment together. And so you're now in a bunch of 5 to 6 people, all coming with different angles. Someone's coming from a legal firm. Someone's got a surf school. A great amount of mine actually started a kite surfing school, and then later sold that business to somebody else at uni. But it's just a great bunch of people, and so spent about 5 years in Perth. So I did 2 years of uni there and worked there for about 3 more years. A friend of mine actually from Perth comes over to Victoria, starts a business in our industry. Yeah, he was the CFO at that company. And he said, hey, have you ever thought of coming and living in Melbourne? I need some sales guys. And back then I wanted to do marketing, but he said, start in sales and I can try to get you into marketing, right? Or I'll try at least start in the industry, get it, because back then I was actually working at an RTO. It was the first job I had in Australia was working at an RTO. They did Cert 3 and Cert 4 programs in corporate governance. Most of their customers were all government departments. So I got to see the whole process of how an RTO works and creating all the content and delivering the classes. And so it really helps in the world that we're in.
I bet it does.
Because in marketing and events and most manufacturing, that's one part of what you're doing. You're creating content. You're working with Solar Accreditation Australia, getting your CPD points. And then with that, you could use that as a vehicle to now educate and train and hopefully acquire new leads, right?
I want a bit of a reminder of the three main sayings. And I got the first two, but I know there's a third. But can you go through all of them again?
Yeah. So the first one is, he who hesitates is lost. That is, you got to take your opportunity. Second one is, not until the fat lady sings.
Yep.
So it's not over until it's over. And the last one is, the show must go on.
Excellent.
So this just kind of ties back to the first one, whereas if, let's just say I've organized an event, we've got a performance, I've got you on stage. You've now, just before going on stage, you've fallen ill. Now, in theater, you always will have an understudy, right? And if the understudy, then someone's jumping on there because you've got a full room of people who paid tickets to be here.
That's it.
Right? I cannot give them a bad experience where tomorrow they say, oh, the show got canceled. We were sitting in our seats. And then, what are they going to tell their mates, right? The show's a bust.
Yep.
So in that respect, if I was to do a training roadshow or if we're at a conference, and typically in companies, I'm the individual working alongside the leadership team, because when it comes to a conference, when it comes to a workshop, when it comes to a product launch, or we are rebranding, or this various variety of types of events, but I'm working with the leadership team, the head of technical, head of product, because even though these guys are, specialists in what they do, does not equal to they'll be amazing on camera or amazing behind the mic.
Yeah, you were saying this off camera before. It's
Yes.
it's a good point.
Yeah. And so what I try to do is baby steps, right? So start with speaking to a boardroom table, start speaking to, from a manufacturer's perspective, go over to our distributors, let them call their top clients in, again, like a boardroom kind of setting, and explain to them about the company, the products, etc., and give them more opportunity to do so. Once they're comfortable with that scenario, then most distributors might do, let's say, an event where they have about 20, 30 people in the room, and you're doing a CPD training. Then that's your next stage. Because eventually, I want to get you so trained up within a year and a half, that thereby I can approach the Clenergy Council, I can approach the Smart Energy Council saying, you've got talks under these X topics. These are the people I'd like to put forward as names to have on that panel discussion, or someone to really flesh out this particular topic, and they'll be great at it. Obviously, if you're a part of the conference team putting that agenda together, they're going to want to see what the credentials are like. So where have this person talked before? What are they going to talk about? So all of this thing needs to be developed behind the scenes, and it's just not going to come. Some people can do it by themselves, but some of them need help. And so, if I have to be that person, I am that person.
Do you think
right?
there's, again, this is a nature-nurture question. Do you think there's natural performers who actually can do it right off the bat because that's their personality? Yeah, that's my question.
I know that there are definitely people who are natural performers who can get behind the mic, keep the crowd going. But if they're not a subject matter expert, the crowd will find out very quickly. So you can keep that. So coming back to the point of the show must go on. Now, if that person's not there, I'm going to chuck in one of my top performers who can hold a room, but they can only do so for he's going to give me or he or she's going to give me a window before I need to get that understudy, get ready, get into costume, be on stage.
Right. So it's effectively you've always got a plan B. And I will add another one to your list of 3. Weakest link in the chain is one of my favourites. And because it is. It's the thing in least supply. The break here throws everything off. And it's so apparent in what we do.
Yeah.
Now, what was your first job in renewables in Melbourne? You've come to Melbourne now. You're at
Yes.
You're in Melbourne now.
Yes.
What was your first job in renewables, and why were you crazy enough to get into renewables in the first place?
Okay. So the name of the company, a lot of you might know the brand. I was one of the salespeople there selling to homeowners, which was True Value Solar.
Oh, back in the I remember them in the early days. Wow.
Yeah.
That would have been hard yakka.
Yeah. But it was a room. Oh my God! It was almost like the Wolf of Wall Street kind of environment, where you have television commercials that run 24/7. You have the phone ringing 24/7, and so if someone didn't pick up the phone, that's a potential loss of a sale. So we're talking about a company that had a direction of we're going to put a lot of money behind marketing and get the brand out there. Rebates are hot right now, and get people to start calling in.
High volume, low profit margin, pump it out.
Yes. You had about 20, 25 blokes in there. You had screens with the leaderboard. As you close a sale,
bells ringing,
and everything is automated. So as you get a deposit over the phone, it automatically goes up on the screen. So it's the IT team there, the senior leadership team there, very, very smart individuals. So much so, if you're looking to buy a very prestige car in Australia today, that's the team you got to go to. So if you look at Dutton Auto,
right,
that's all ex-TVS.
Wow, that's really interesting.
And that team have taken that from one outlet to I don't know how many outlets now across the country, in a span of 2-3 years.
The boss of True Value Solar, didn't he go on to sell some kind of battery system after that?
Well, they started Ledified after that, right? And then I think another solar brand underneath that, Solar Battery Group, I think. But the key people of when I was there, the CFO, who was one of my mates back in Perth, who pulled me over, the CEO, and the head of IT, they're all part of Dutton's.
Wow. So they honed their skills in that high pressure. Must have been an incredibly high pressure environment. Like,
Oh, 100%. 100%.
the expectations would have been huge.
Yeah. I mean, it was a sales environment where if you did not perform within the first couple of days,
They kick you
a
out.
week, yeah.
How long did you survive there?
About 2.5, I think 3 years.
I'll rephrase that. How long were you there for? Not survive.
Yeah, but
wow.
The CEO at the time, he knew I always had aspirations for marketing, and the product that we were selling at the time, the panels that we were selling at the time were Renewables. And they had a position for marketing open up, and as soon as that happened, I said, "Man, I've been selling your product for the last 2 years.
I know your product.
Like, I know it inside and out.
Wow.
I've done the XX in marketing, and the country manager at the time was Derek Marsden, so who's over at Cranitz today." And so he took me on, and I spent about 3 years there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gee, it is a small, as we know, it's a fairly small world, the renewable energy industry. But cutting your teeth at True Value Solar. There was another company at the time called I think it was Clear Solar. It was the same kind of business model. They were the wild cowboy days almost, weren't they?
Yeah.
Things have sort of calmed down a little bit now with that. I think it's so hard for a business to actually rely on that huge volume of installs to actually make money. So you've effectively cut your teeth in that environment. You've moved on to marketing a product that you knew intimately. And what happened after that?
Well, as soon as I came to Renewables, it went from retail to the manufacturing world, right? And I had before Perth, I was working in Sweden, which was manufacturing world. Right, so it felt like, oh, this is where I need to be. This is exactly. It was very familiar. A lot of the processes were very familiar. The way marketing was structured itself was very familiar, and so I kind of like just fell right into a very, very safe space. And and their model was not to go through distributors. Their model was manufacturing direct to retail's installers.
Gotcha.
Right? And so. That was them and how they wanted to do things, and they got a fair amount of market share very, very quickly, becoming the number one brand in 2012 and 2013 because they went direct, but not sustainable because being a manufacturer and distribution is very hard.
And you're developing relationship with hundreds of people as opposed to going to a wholesaler where you maybe have 3 or 4 or 5 wholesalers, and it's a more intense relationship compared to hundreds of installers buying your product, 4, 5 back then maybe only 2 or 3 kilowatt systems at a time.
I mean the minimum order was a 5 kilowatt. You had
it had to be a 5.
Had to be a 5, and then you can off you go, and we'll pick and pack it for you. Yeah, straight out of the Basie office and warehouse.
So they're not around anymore.
They're not around anymore because they had a change in their Australian business model to go down the LED route. So they thought they could make more revenue if they just got into direct consumer products with LEDs, and thought they could do it side by side. They tried to push a little bit more into LEDs, and while they started doing that, they started to lose a lot of their good talent within the PV space, and slowly but slowly, they all kind of all left and then dissipated. Unfortunate, but that's how it was. Interestingly, a couple of years ago, I mean, Renewables, I left the Australian market, I don't know, maybe 2015, 2017, I'm not sure when. But a couple of years ago, I think 2022 or 23, I was at Intersolar in Sao Paulo in Brazil, walking around, looking at all the booths and everything. Renewables. Wow. What are you doing over here?
Wow.
And go and talk to the staff there at the booth, and I'm going through my LinkedIn. I'm like, I used to work for Renewables.
Wow.
And they're like, who are you? I don't know who you are. I've only been here for the last 2 months. I'm like, okay.
What's your knowledge on the Australian market when it comes to panels? Like, are we getting the brands that are selling in Australia? Are they the same brands that are selling elsewhere, or is there brands that we don't see in Australia that are popular overseas? I ask because I don't know.
There are some brands that aren't here but I see in Europe and other parts of the world. Like, for example, you've got DMEG, DMEGC.
Oh.
Right? Never heard of that brand in
No,
Australia.
no.
But you go over to Europe, a lot of people use DMEG. It's DMEGC, yeah. So that's like one or two random brands, or DAS, DAS, DAS Solar. You don't see it typically here, but you might see a little bit coming years. You don't see any of the Indian brands. There's a huge number of Indian brands.
That'll be happening soon,
Yeah.
though, I reckon.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
A few brands, by the way, have already started to look at a few local talent for, in terms of building a team here. So, and that's just started this year.
Wow. It's a natural progression. We had Jayesh Satani, one of our renewable energy engineers, in for a podcast, and we were talking about the Indian market, and there's a lot of potential there. I mean, so many people, so much good solar radiation.
Yeah. And so I had the opportunity with the Smart Energy Council early this year to go on their delegation.
Oh, you went? Oh, wow.
So it was representing two parts, representing Australian manufacturing and Australian education and training in renewables. Right, and the idea was to do so. About 2 years ago, both the PMs had met, and there was a memorandum that Australia will share a lot of their knowledge and when it comes to manufacturing, and especially the education part of it, because that's something that they're lacking in terms of training up and upskilling installers to be at our level where we're at today.
Yes.
Right. What was interesting to see that they had already programs up and ready. Like, for example, they have a program called Surya Ghar, which is like solar home, right? But it's suryaghar.gov. It's a government website.
Wow.
And that's their rebate scheme.
Right.
So it's can think of a merge between the STC's rebates, but also something like a solar quotes.
Wow.
So it's a government website. Mom and dad can go up, put their address in. It'll give them and get you 3 quotes, right?
Interesting.
3 quotes come in, and it's up to those installers to then go back to the site and say, yep, they have been installed. I want to claim like their version of STCs, right? And right now they've got, I think, for 3 kilowatt systems.
Yeah, right.
So they're just starting that. And equally similar, they've got to the VEEC, was it the VEEC scheme for LEDs, something Bijli. But yeah, basically, so they've got it for solar and they've got it for LED now.
Wow. India, the electricity distribution is owned by the government in India, so it's a slightly different system.
Yeah.
But on the plus side, they have the same voltage and frequency as us.
Yes,
so
correct.
that's a good thing, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
So next step, the next business that you move to, still in the renewables. It seems like you found your niche, the renewables.
Yep.
What is it about renewables that you like? What that ticks the boxes for you, from a marketing perspective and also personal one?
Well, I guess it as from a personal human perspective, it's an industry that allows you to everything that you're doing is larger picture. It's all for a good cause. You're doing it for the better of the planet. You're doing it better for society and the community around you, whether it be solar panels or whether it's tomorrow with EV cars and you're taking stress off the grid. These are all things that it's just going to slowly expand and further expand. So on a personal level, every day when you go into that office, you're doing something right. You're pushing product that's helping people. And I've been lucky enough to work in some really amazing companies and have the opportunity to be all across the spectrum of products, right from modules to module level inverters to racking products. Most recently with off-grid products in the country. And today I'm in a space where I'm on to my next chapter. Yeah.
Well, are you happy to talk about the other jobs you've after Rene Solar?
Yes.
What was the next job? Well, who was it?
From Rene, I moved over to Solar Edge.
Yes.
So it was module level, and it was a really exciting time because back in 2015, that's when Tesla Powerwall came into the market, and their 2 inverters that they had integrated with was Solar Edge and SMA.
Wow.
Right, and was first Solar Edge.
Yes.
Right, and so all the Tesla Powerwalls coming into the country remember Tesla at that point in time only had a retail store for its cars. They had no.
That's right.
They had no staff
I
here.
went to the one at Chadstone Shopping Centre.
Yeah. They had no technical staff here, no sales
Yeah.
for Tesla Energy. I mean,
That's
right?
it.
Which of course changed today. But back then, if an installer wanted to buy it, yes, they could buy it from, I guess, their US offices, or they had maybe a channel. But once you installed it, and if you had any technical issues, there's no team locally to call. And so by default, they call SolarEdge.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
And it became such a challenge that SolarEdge had to import technical staff out of the US to come and help the local team here, because just having 4 or 5 people, I mean, it was 4 and then a few more, so maybe a total of 6, so much that they had to have a team leader and everything in terms of technical support, because I think the first batch of Powerwalls, they had about, I think, 3 different PCB boards. So the way it was designed and how you would install it was 3 different ways to do it. And so that was so just teaching one set of installers one way, but then the next container that would come was a different.
Wow.
And so that was a bit of a challenge as well. So we were learning at the same time. And so managing that from a brand perspective, because, you know, on all of the social channels, whether it's the Facebook groups or your website, your the emails coming in, the phone calls coming in, training your staff on what to say, how to say it, so that you want everyone to have a great customer experience. But this part doesn't belong to you technically, but also belongs to you in a way, because if you solve the problem for them, now you're the hero. So that's great.
Yes, absolutely.
That's who we want to be. We want to be the ones who help us solve the problem for you. So it was just a very, very interesting space. Got to see their head office over in Israel. It was an amazing experience. Again, another multinational company. Got to rub shoulders with people from all around the world in that brand. And then from there, I think I wanted to, you know what, after that, I took a complete break from Renewables.
Really?
Actually. And I thought it already had been about 5 or 6 years. And one of my mates was working in financial services. And he said, over in just South Melbourne, we've got a marketing role for digital in the digital space. And would you like to, give this a go? And it was a firm that provides services to individual financial planners, individual accountants who have their own little book and a set of customers. We're talking small to medium-sized financial planners who might be 1 or maybe 3 to 5 people, but they need extra services like HR or compliance or someone to help on the legal side of things, right? So they're not big enough to have all those extra resources on board. So you go to one of these other providers who have their own license. You go under their license, and then they provide you this umbrella of resources. So this is a company called Centerpoint Alliance. And what was so interesting, coming from solar, then going to finance. Now, finance has been in the industry for hundreds of years, right?
Yes.
Thousands.
It's quite mature.
Very mature industry, right? So they have already gone through so many levels of process and standardization and regulations.
Right.
There, in terms of how you communicate, there's a format, there's a kind of language. There are certain ones you can't use, certain ones you can use. Right. And so there was so much structure, which was really very encouraging to see, because I'd never seen that in solar yet, because it's still growing, right? And the only regulations coming in were everything was around the technical side of things, not in the communication or marketing. And so that's why all the ads are either shouting at you,
yes,
right? Buy solar, right?
Good point.
2 for 1 or whatever. It's everything's like either shouting at you or it's a cricketer, right?
That's good. Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. I totally know. Yeah.
But we're talking like 2009 to 2015. So it was really refreshing. But then 6 to 8 months passed, and what I missed was the hustle and bustle of every day, the solar coaster, because finance was great and learning was great in terms of for my own growth in marketing on how to develop campaigns in a very structured way and all of that. as opposed to, oh my God, the rebates are dropping tomorrow. We got to sell these pallets have to go. You know, everything's all quick and fast, and you know being agile is an understatement for being in the solar industry.
You're dead right.
You know, so that was such a element of the industry that I missed. So I did that only for about a year, or just I think over a year, and jumped over to Red Earth Energy Storage for a bit.
Oh yeah, right.
Yep.
Australian company.
Yes, based out of Brisbane.
Yeah.
It was.
They're still around, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And so, I mean, at the point in time, they were making a product that nobody else was. You know, making a fully integrated product.
That's right.
Inverters, batteries, everything's all commissioned for you. Plug it on site. All you got
plug and go.
Plug in the PV and then you know, and away you go. So great product, but of course they're based out of Brisbane. I was working remote, and so at that point in time, I'm the kind of person, I like being in the office. I want to be around the team, and I think also for the business at that point in time, it was small growing business. It made more sense for them to have someone locally in Brisbane, maybe of a let's say a junior person as opposed to myself. And so at that point in time, I started looking around, and I found Clenergy. And I was with Clenergy for about just under 5 years.
Yeah,
because I really found a bit of a home there.
Another multinational company too.
Another multinational company.
Yeah,
and origin stories to Melbourne. Which is great, and they've got a head office over in China, but the global distribution, IT, finance, marketing, it's all based here in Melbourne.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why they got such a massive team.
Yes.
Now
so,
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's you've got the Chinese head office, but you also got the global head office.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So it was great to be part of that team in terms of like growing with it, because the remit that I was provided was the CEO there, Daniel. He's the founder and CEO, and he's a true visionary in some respects, because he, if you look at our industry, right, every brand, everybody does one product. Whether if I'm doing panels, I'm doing panels. If I'm doing inverters, that's all I do. And they did that for about 10 plus years. And maybe because batteries are hot, okay, I'll jump into batteries.
Yes.
Right? But in the mounting world, how many mounting companies are doing a different category?
None.
Nobody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, and Daniel always had this vision that he wanted Clenergy to be so much more than mounting. Whereas, not to forget where we are coming from, but to let mounting be that vehicle that allows us to open up new categories, and then we're going to put the right people into each of those categories to champion and then become a much larger conglomerate with a few more product lines, but calculated. Everything's all very, very, very calculated, and in a structured way. So my remit was, one, we want to get back into Europe. So we need to get our brand to an international level. Second, we want to separate the parent company from the mounting brand, so that it gives us the opportunity to bring more brands in, right? So that's what I did. Basically, give Clenergy its own brand, bring PV Easy Rack out, give PV Easy Rack its own definition, keep the colors and the look and feel exactly of what people recognize Clenergy to be.
Yeah.
Move Clenergy more into a technology kind of look and feel, so that you could start adding on, because now, see, you live in a mechanical structural engineering world.
Yes.
Right? And now you're going to go to the electrical side of things. And with the electrical side of things, you also have the software. Because for every inverter, for every large system on a PPA agreement, you're going to have an app, you're going to have a SCADA system.
That's right.
Right? So it's a lot more things that start to branch out. So Clenergy had to go into a space where it's a brand which would allow for it to start having more products underneath its larger umbrella. So, I mean, which is what I did over the last 5 years with them.
Yeah, that was, and that's in this day and age, that's a fair stint, isn't it? 5 years. Then after Clenergy, you moved to
Selectronic.
Selectronic. So Selectronic, Australian-made product.
Yep, another Australian champion of a brand.
Been around for a very long
60
time.
plus years, 62.
I know, it's crazy.
It's crazy. It's the oldest inverter company in the world.
Is it really?
In the world, yeah. There's the closest one is probably Studer, and they're about 55, 56.
The Swiss company, yeah.
And it's so uncanny that they do very similar products to Selectronic.
The Studer, they used to bring that out.
Yeah.
I actually used some in some off-grid jobs many years ago. At the time, the Selectronic product, well, the particular job, we picked a Studer, but we usually were using Selectronic. Selectronic has got a great reputation. As you said, they've been around for, I didn't realise, 60 years. It's and originally they were just purely off grid, but now they've for the last few years they've been moving elsewhere. I mean, they're still including the off grid, but there's this whole battery hybrid on the grid market kind of thing. So that's how do you market an Australian-made product that is been around for 60 years? What did you do?
Well, for me, it was showcase the legacy. So you've got 3 generations in the family who's brought that brand over the last 60 years. So you've got the second generation who are in leadership today. You've got the third generation in one level down in working in production. Head of production is in the third generation. You've got a lot of other family members in working in the business, and it's that real country kind of vibe, and that's the people who they service. They literally, they are the power company to that regional outback hotel, bar, dairy farm, cattle station. And so they live and breathe that lifestyle. And most of the leadership all have their homes off-grid themselves. So their homes are their testing.
Yeah, Lindsay's a good example.
They literally live the product, right?
Yes.
Ken Scott, who's been there for I don't know how long, he's one of the first employees. And he's almost getting closer to retirement. But he's been off-grid his entire life. One of their previous director of sales, Lindsay Hart, has been off-grid for most of his life, And so
Lindsay's sort of still involved a little bit with the training now.
So once every 2-3 months he comes in just to do the training modules because he's so passionate.
Yeah, he is. He's totally passionate. Yeah,
he loves everything about the whole lifestyle and the products and the legacy. And so he actually worked for Selectronic, went over and stole a bit of Studer in the middle, and then came back.
Yeah, I know. He came back to the family. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, but he'd been there for so many years. It's there's no doubt about it. It's a wonderful product now, but you're not at Selectronic anymore.
Correct. Yes.
And this is where I'm going to ask you because you said off camera that there's something about to happen.
Yes.
Job wise.
Yes.
Can you say here what it is?
So I mean, with Selectronic, it's been a mutual decision between myself and Rod that we started to become a fairly top-heavy company, and we don't have enough operational staff on the ground to actually carry out a lot of the work. And so what the suggestion was, maybe for the business, someone of my level, give me the opportunity to work as long as I can, but I'll start looking for something else. And I want to help you with that transition, with hiring the right people, get the people who can actually operationally help you on the ground.
Right.
Because we've in the 2 years I was there, we got in all the ministers. We did the trade delegations. We've looked at opportunities for overseas manufacturing. We looked at a potential partnership with Studer. We looked at a bunch of different things, right? So I did everything I could with them, and
it was noticeable too. Like in the last few years, you really saw Selectronic. I saw LinkedIn. You got roundtable discussions. You got these videos and. Wow, because I didn't realize at the time. I said, "Oh, they're actually starting to do some marketing now." Because they never really did do much. Well,
I mean, back then, but also I got to give credit to where credit's due in terms of their the younger second generation who's in the business today. The young fellas there who all come from that media background
Yep.
at uni, and so they've actually built the studio there. They're the ones who are behind
Wow.
the creative on all the videos. And
Very
so,
cool.
And I'm just mentoring them in a few places, but it's really a lot of their work.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And giving them the platform to like say, hey, and they're so in tune with the psyche of from the local installer to the mom and dad who own that system, that when you see some of their content on Instagram or on LinkedIn, it connects straight to the installer, right? And you can only do that if you're on the ground every day and really part of and living that world. But in the last couple of months, I have been speaking with a few brands.
So you're still in the renewable energy. You're still going to be in the good.
100%,
That's good.
100%. There's too many people I know that even if I try to get out, they'll pull me back in.
That's funny.
But there have been some brands in the inverter space, in the battery space. But what I've decided to do was go to a place that I recognize, a place where I have already built a bit of a structure. And so I've decided, working for the last 2 months with the leadership team, they've made space for me, and that's back at Clenergy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Going back to Clenergy, wow.
Yes.
So At All Energies coming up,
Yes.
and I think this podcast will probably come out after that, but At All Energies, you're going to be there in all
I'm
your
gonna be
glory.
there, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, thank
Because
you.
they are a great company, and
Yes.
there's some
And
great people there.
I mean, I was just telling some of the CEO the other day that sometimes when you're very very close to something, you can see small. You tend not to see all the small incremental changes, and you start thinking to yourself, oh, there isn't much change. But I'm coming back to Clenergy after just under 2 years, and they have changed a lot
Wow.
in terms of internal processes, the resources within the team. Now I know they've had a few vacuums in terms of some of their leadership, but with myself and a few others that's about to come on board, things are going to turn around. You're going to see a complete new face, not a new face, but you can see a very confident face of Clenergy at All Energy.
I can't wait. On that note, thanks so much for coming in.
Oh, thank you.
It was really elucidating, and I loved hearing like that progress, and really loved hearing about your life growing up and that passion for marketing and organizing things right from the word go, and just your progress throughout the renewable energy industry. So thanks very much again.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.